Welcome in, welcome in, welcome once again to the newest edition of 3 In, 3 Out, the most unique Seahawks recap show in the multiverse. I'm your host, Clinton Bonner, and I am joined by the one, the only, the great Brandan Schultz. And Brandan, while I know you are great, and Brandan, gosh darn it, I still feel pretty great. I don't know, that's how I'm wired.
Really?
I can tell you, I personally, I'm still fine. I'm great. I hear what you're going for, but I can tell you right now, getting waxed by another team at home where they take our lunch money and make us look like doo-doo heads on national TV. Not so great, Brandan.
No, not a great feeling. And so if you take that and then you internalize it, it becomes part of you, and that starts to feel not so great. So maybe if that is your way of dealing with losses, don't do that. Don't do it that way.
Correct. And
just stop
it. Just stop it right now. We could be yelling that to a couple of our players, maybe some of our coordinators, maybe our head coach, to stop doing what we're doing, which is come out of the gates and be seemingly wildly unprepared to play a Packers team that took the ball and scored and did it their way. And it was really, really offensive to watch the team come out. A couple of quick observations. We will get, of course, it is 3 in, 3 out, Brandan. We will get into the nooks. We will get into the crannies. It's even in a 30-13 blowout.
You found 3?
I found
3 ins?
There's plenty of ins. There's always ins. There's always good moments. And there were good opportunities also in this game. I think we squandered them. I think we did not rededicate ourselves down 14 points. Once again, we're down 14. Therefore, we are not allowed to run the football. And ultimately, I think it freaking killed us. So a couple of quick observations as we get going. First thing I wanted to share with you and ask you about was when the game ended, did you realize at that time that Charbonnet only had 8 runs, or did you realize after? Because for me, I realized after because he felt more impactful, but I was like, wow, 8 attempts. And that was it. What do you think?
No, it didn't feel. I mean, the only impact was the touchdown run, and I didn't feel like we were. One of the things that we talked about after the game is, could we remember even being under center during the game?
No.
And so, when you combine that with and trying to figure out where the runs were going to come from, no, the 8 carries seemed about right. How it felt during the game.
Yeah, maybe it was just the rewatch that reopened my eyes, being like, you know what? When we wanted to run the ball, we actually ran it pretty well.
Yeah, we just didn't. No,
just decided not to again. So that was something.
It's a weird thing because earlier. We decided that our offensive line was so bad that we weren't running the football.
Right.
And now we've decided that the offensive line is so bad that I don't know that's why Geno's bad in the passing game. The offensive line is bad, yes, but there are things that you can do to mitigate it, and we're choosing not to. Although we chose to. I thought we were learning, Clinton. I felt like over these last 3-4 games we were learning, and it was like, oh yeah, remember everything that we learned over the last 4 games? Let's not do that.
Yeah, forget it, right? That works so well, let's never do it again, right? That's kind of what it felt like, right? So earlier for What If and the preview shows and everything we were talking about leading up, like, hey, the Packers play a lot like the Arizona Cardinals. There should be free lunches, checkdowns, and hey, if they're sitting back in zone and our first 3 guys are not open, we should have plenty of time for checkdowns and get the ball to Barner and get the ball to Sharbs in the flat. Like that was none of that was there. I think partially because of scheme and partially because of just 7 sacks later, we didn't have time to get to checkdowns, which was absolute disaster. I know we always have time for this though, Brandan. Hit that. What do we got on screen for our peeps?
Yes, we've got Ryan 911 in with the $9.99 super chat. He's our live executive producer. He says lots of season left means lots of ins left to see, probably fewer outs, but who knows?
Yeah, well, that's another piece, and I have a particular thumbnail I'll put up in what I titled the show in a second, which bleeds right into what Ryan's saying. I'll save that for a second as we get into it. The other thing on the rewatch, which we're just not going to cover in the nooks and crannies, is I thought the run defense, sans the first 2 drives, actually got really good. The problem is we let up 14 points in the first 2 drives, and they ran the ball. So the Mike McDonald piece of, hey, coach, why are your players not ready to stop the run?
Yeah,
that's head scratching, and actually will be one of the outs too. But that's just demoralizing, right? I mean, to get down that early and via the way they did it, it puts you on your heels. That's how I felt.
yeah, and Coach Mike deserves some of the blame for that exact reason. The one thing that stood out to me the most, and wondering why they didn't seem prepared for that rushing attack to come. As soon as the ball was snapped in those first couple drives, the safeties were backpedaling
Mm,
majority of the time, which seems
crazy.
weird.
Yeah, it does seem weird. We're going to get to it in the first out, so I'll save a little bit of it. But to they started the game with 2 passes. The Packers did, so they loosened it up right away. Just boom, boom, and the second pass was of course Tariq taking a 15-yarder, which he shouldn't have taken, on top of a 13-yard gain. So it's a freaking 30-yarder basically right there, and they're way across midfield. But then they would just run with one little Jordan Love scramble, and they're up 7-0. The last observation before we get into the nooks and crannies and the bulk of the show is the Grubb's failure to run the ball from the 13-yard line when we're down 14. When we're moving the ball well, we just throw the ball 3 times to the boundary. I don't know. I know you and Adam have talked about it. I know Adam was texting us about this a lot. It's to the point of just kind of a point of no return is what it feels like to me, Brandon. And I don't know how you feel about it.
I don't know about point of no return, but the point of significant concern for sure. Like especially when we've seen Geno have these red zone issues over and over again, and then to choose not to run the ball when you're inside the red zone, when you've shown that you've had some pretty good success. That it's a strange decision, and it seems compounded by the fact that there was another interception. Then, well, Geno got injured, but that wasn't in the red zone. But yeah.
It was again, choices, right? Kind of self-inflicted wounds. The interception, of course, bugged the crap out of me. Can't throw the ball. He has no time. Again, he's getting just berated, but you can't throw that ball. And they're all bunched up over there anyway. The middle of the field is not being used. But the play before is the one that I lay the most blame at Geno's feet, because he tries JSN, who's not at all open. Like that one should have been intercepted, but he's got Lockett on an out wide open in the flat. And this is now at that point, 2nd down. It's like, dude, just dump it to Lockett. He'll go out of bounds, not gonna take a hit, but who cares? Then it's 3rd and 2. So if you flip that entire drive and we're sitting at 3rd and 2, it really changes basically everything, right?
Is this the out that we're starting with?
No, these are just general observations, right? So there was
these are the pre-outs to the first out.
Yeah, there were a lot of outs, Brandon. There were a lot of outs to get to, so I had to shove some into the forefront. But alas, all's not lost here. We do want to remind folks, of course. Actually, let me just get into it. I'll put it on screen, and then because then I got stuff for that as well. But here we go, Brandon. So I did title this one, Seahawks sky falling ? And of course, I think we all learned really, really quickly that if no Geno, then we have some major problems if we don't have Geno Smith on the field, right? Good news, as we'll report this as part of this going live on what is today, Tuesday night. It's already trending that Geno will practice this week and looks like he'll be able to play. So, Brandon, I don't know like what you need to do, to make sure the Hawker is right for that. But we literally, I don't feel like we have a shot with Sam Howell versus the Vikings defense. Like, I don't think it's 10% or less, I think, with Howell.
With Howell or with Geno?
No, with Howell. I think with Geno, it's somewhere like 40, 45%, maybe even 50%, just because it's Sunday. We could beat them. We could beat them. But with Sam Howell, I really think it's probably about 10% chance.
Okay. Yeah. I'm with True Metal Jake. I think it's both. The answer is both.
All right. Yeah. But look, I can rewind that Packers game and be like, yeah, look, they're better. They whooped us. but play it 10
The
times.
Vikings are a better team than the Packers is the thing that I'm kind of getting to.
No, I don't know if that's true, but that's
They're
okay.
a better overall team.
We got time to talk about that later in the week as we start to review it. So that's okay. We do want to remind folks out there, youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast. We are still storming towards 5,000 subscribers out on YouTube. You could subscribe right there. You see it. There's a QR code on screen. You could also join on YouTube, join as a member if you want to, or head over to getintheflock.com, become a member of the Discord for as little as $3 a month. Of course, you're welcome to give more if you feel that you can. We love it, but you'll have a lot of fun. The perks are there. There's pick'em leagues. There's every day we're chatting with flockers in the Discord, and even in crappy moments, Brandan, we could lean on each other in the flock and make each other laugh and just share, even if it's a crappy share the experience together, because that's always fun, right? The Discord always brightens the day.
Absolutely. Getintheflock.com, join us, and yeah, the Discord was fun. We should have more people there.
Look, there's like several hundred, but we want several hundred more. So just get in there, getintheflock.com. It's a lot of fun. All right. We put out a poll on YouTube just about 4 hours ago now, just trying to take a pulse of the fan base. I said, hey, Seahawks fans, where's your heart at right now? If you had a vote right now, are we going to A, win the NFC West? B, we are very sneaky and we get the 7 seed. Maybe the Commanders take a back seat and we get in. Or C, we outright miss the playoffs. Brandan, I hate to report that almost 6 out of 10 flockers, almost 60%, the majority, say we are going to miss the playoffs. What do you say?
That's absolutely where I am right now. If you were to ask me after this game, because this one I thought between, I don't know, the next 2 home games are going to be tough anyway. And watching them lose the way they did makes me think we have less of a shot at the Vikings this coming week. And then it just makes that Rams week 18 game look less likely too. So my concern was that we would go 1-3 down the stretch, and losing the way they did, it seems like the more likely option now.
It does. So I understand where people's hearts are at, or their heads are at, but I also want to put this up on screen and say little faith you have there, little Yodaism mixed up with some religion. Look, NFL seasons take.
Force is a religion. There's no mixing there.
That's true. That's true. You're not incorrect, which is the best type of correct. But seasons take a lot of twists and turns, and I would just say, don't dream it's over, Seahawks fans. It is not over yet. First of all, the Commanders could lose a few games down the stretch. They almost lost very, very close to losing that game to the Saints. They are not that good of a team. They could lose. The Rams clearly are up and down with their offense. 1 week, 44 freaking points. Next week, 12. Same Rams team that didn't score a point versus the Saints 3 weeks ago in the first half, right? So just hold out hope. It's not over yet. Even if we lose to the Vikings, it's still not quite over, but obviously this Vikings game becomes that much more important.
Don't get this twisted. I'm rooting for our team to go 3-0 down the stretch.
I know you're rooting for them, which is fine. All right, let us get to, after the long elongated preamble, let's find that whammy. Sprinkles are for winners. We didn't win. We got to start with it out. Please hit the whammy. Let's go. Okay. First, right. I hate starting without. It's the worst. Okay. First out, we're going to call this one Wide Open. And as you can see, if you're watching at youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast, little pun, little play with words, WHY''D. That's not really a word, but we'll do it here. But we're saying we're wide open. We're wide open. So what are we looking at here? Well, I hinted at it in the bit of the preamble, and we're going to go to the videotape here. So I'll let this play out so folks could see it, and I'll pause it along the way here. Brandan, this is just to set it up so you can see the Packers, Love back in shotgun, Jacobs off his right hip, and they are at about our 24-yard line. This is the first drive of the game, which was on the screen previous. This is the 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, first drive of the game. And watching this at home, I was like, I didn't understand our formation to begin with. So we'll see a couple of varieties of this. Just watching how easy this is, and then I'll flip it over to the all 22 view. Brandon, what is this? What are we? It's 3rd and 4. We know this team likes this is why I'm on McDonald a little bit.
Yeah.
It's 3rd and 4. They are in a 4. To me, it was in my brain. I'm like, oh, it's 3rd and 4. I'm like, they're going to run the ball, A, because they ran the ball like 5 straight plays and we're not stopping them. That's, evidence A. But B was it's 3rd and 4. They're going to run the ball because this is the Packers. And if they don't get it, they'll probably just run the ball again. Like if they get to 4th and 1 or 4th and 2. So to see this, it's not the parting of the Red Seas. It's like they didn't have to part anything. It's watch how easy this is. Watch what happens to our linebackers. I mean, this was poor, man. So I didn't understand it. I still don't. And it made it so easy for the Packers to get a crucial first down via the ground. And then, of course, they just run it a few more times and they're up 7-0. Did you see this at home too? Did you see, when it was live, you were like, what are we doing? Because I wrote it down right away. I wonder if you saw it live.
I did not see the first drive live, so the answer is no. But going back and watching, the most concerning thing, and you wouldn't have caught this from it's not the most concerning thing, but it's also the thing. It's one of the things that I saw just consistently on this first drive, doing the watch back through, is that if you look at where the safeties are lined up, it's 3rd and 4. And on the sideline view of the all 22, you can see that Kobe, like at the snap, at the point that it's being handed off to Jacobs, Kobe's eyes are all the way over on the left side of the field. Like he's not even thinking that it's going to be up the middle run either, despite that wide open area. So you have both safeties back. They're not coming forward. Even Love takes a step back before he goes forward. So it's just a weird. It was just weird to me that they did not even prepare for more runs early on when it was going to be such a focus with their back.
I mean, we talked about it all week. If we're able to look at data and extrapolate and listen to other podcasters and listen to the Packers guys
just watching football. That's all it is.
Just watching this, being like, this team likes to run the rock, and they will do that. And Leo Williams is so good, he almost makes the play. Like as poorly as this is, lined up for failure for our Seahawks, Leo Williams still sleds his guy, sheds him, and he just gets to the hole a little late, but there's no help there whatsoever. So egregious. And I've got to, I'm not on the fire anybody wagon. In fact, I'm on the side of I think we still make the playoffs. In fact, I think we're going to win the division. Because
going to the Super Bowl. In fact,
look.
I mean, let's not let's not put any limitations on this, Clinton.
If you win the West, then you never know. I am still an optimist, and I will remain one. But this was a poor start. McDonald's got to own this first out. It's the most important out of the game, because maybe you could win the game in the fourth quarter, but Brandon, as it's been said lots of times now, you sure as heck can lose the game in the first quarter, and we demonstrated that. So let's whammy. We got some fun stuff to get to, I promise. Okay. In number one, we're in the spirits, right? It's nearly Christmas time. It is Christmas time, and we're smack in the middle of the holidays. So I'm going to go with The Ghost of Blocking Past. By the way, Brandon, how do you feel about the movie Scrooged with Bill Murray as a Christmas movie? What's your take on Scrooged?
I don't know if I've ever watched it all the way through, and maybe that's a bad thing, but not. I don't. The Christmas Carol to me it's been done a lot of different ways.
Yes, that's true.
That's my statement.
Okay, it has been done a lot of different ways. I think Scrooge is delightful, but I also tend to like many things Bill Murray, not all things, but most things Bill Murray has done. And Scrooge is definitely up there as well. Bobcat Bobcat Goldthwait has a really, not an insignificant part. He's got a great part in that movie as well. Also, just on the topic of amazing Christmas Carol movies, is A Muppet Christmas Carol is really, really well done. And you want to watch an actor go do his thing, Michael Caine, surrounded by furry Muppets.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
That movie was made, why do we need any other Christmas Carol movie?
It's fair, but it's still a good rendition. Anyway, the Ghost of Blocking Past, obviously taking homage from the Dickens classic here. So we got Q1, 14 seconds to go, 1st and 10, Seattle. We're on Green Bay's 48-yard line. It's 14-0. At this point, we had not wholeheartedly abandoned the run, and I'll show you exactly what happens here. All right, so we're going to play this forward first, and a couple of times, we saw this play a few times where we get this beautiful left guard center pull. At this time it's Oluwatimi before he's hurt, and obviously Tomlinson doing his thing, pulling around the edge, little handoff to Sharps out of shotgun. It's beautifully blocked up. The thing that I want folks to focus on is like, look, and we'll roll it here too. Look, there's a lot of eye candy you're about to see on screen. All that. Oh, did it pop up? I thought I put eye candy on there. Let's see if the next one has. I think I actually put some candy on screen. Well, it didn't take. That's okay. What I was trying to set up is the fact that I think Charles Cross is doing some really good work here. And I want folks to zero in on his feet. And look at the feet. Look at the feet. Look at the movement. And he's squared up the way he has to be. He's got the right angles. This is very well done. And as you're watching it, I zoom in on the feet here. Pretty cool. Now that your eye is on Charles Cross, I'll bring it back out to the sideline angle. Now watch him here. Look at the depth. Look how much he pushes back. Man, he's doing some good work there. Doesn't hold. Spring Charbonnet for a beautiful run. I thought that was great. And in addition to that, just some love for DK Metcalf, who continues to block really, really well. I know we may go pay him $35 million and all that jazz, and he's not getting a lot of passes, but the dude shows up every single week and he's out there blocking. So Brandan, if one of the 8 runs looks like this, you'd think we'd do more than 8, because this looks pretty darn successful to me, man. What do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. You would think that you would see it more. You got a good block from Cross there. You even got a nice block on the other edge, not really needed by Abe Lucas, but he's blocking his guy well. And then you got the other guys on the move. So yeah, that is one of the plays that I feel like they've got it pretty well down, and defenses don't seem to have an answer for it yet. So this is, I'd like to see us using it a little bit more, and they didn't get to it. I don't buy that argument that it was, well, we're down 14. Well,
Right.
What are we going to do? Well, I don't know. When we were even down in the third quarter, what did we have more success doing? Running the football with Charbonnet, or watching Sam Howell complete 5 passes out of 18 or whatever it was? Like, I think that running the ball still would have been more effective late in the game because they were teeing off on Howell.
I mean, your point is exactly right. And that's part of why I think so many Seahawks fans are scratching their heads. And it reminded me of, remember the 3rd week of the season, right? Yeah, 3rd week, when we played Miami and we faced Skylar Thompson. And I got on after the game and I was like, hey, yeah, I know we kind of won that game. It looks like we won that game easily. And I was like, if McDaniel just decided to run the ball more, we were in trouble. Maybe not lose the game, but Achane was getting chunks and he just didn't do it. It's like, okay, so you're going to put the ball in Skylar Thompson's hands. So I'm watching this game and the same reaction. I'm like, okay, like, we're running the ball well. I know we're down, but you said it so perfectly. What has a better likelihood of winning right now or gaining yards? And it was clearly the run game. So
here's the stat line for you. Sam Howell, 5 completions of 14 attempts for 24 yards. So 24 yards through the air with Sam Howell. Zach Charbonnet's 1 touchdown run, 24 yards.
Yeah, right. Right, exactly. So even Steven, but a lot more efficient, right? So it seemed like we squandered the opportunity to really do that, even if we still lost the game, but we kept establishing the fact that we can run the ball, and we're giving, let's say, Jalen Sundell some more chances because he might now be, injected as like our fifth center this year. That would have been okay too, right? To give him some more live reps. And I think he acquitted himself pretty well out there, given all the, everything. Just he's literally tossed in and has not played that much this year. So, yeah. All right. But it's a good in. We do have some, like we have a little bit of, I think, growing street cred that we can run the ball. And again, it will just be commitment to, will we go run the ball? I watched the Vikings last night play a very bad Bears team, and there's good balance. Everything looks fast, and like the short passes and the things that are, 3rd and 2s are simple, and Darnold's on the edge and he's sprinting out and he's booting, and then there's lots of touches for Aaron Jones, and there's ample touches for Cam Akers. Like that, I don't know. I watched it, like that looks like a offense that knows what it's doing and what it wants to do and is in control of what they want to go do. And we juxtapose that versus where we're at. It ain't great. I turned it into an out. We got to get to an out. Let's whammy, Brandon. What can I tell you, folks? There's a lot of stuff.
How are we going to fit in 9 outs in a show where there's only dedication for 3?
Yeah.
You gotta have pre-outs to the 3 ins and 3 outs. You gotta turn ins into outs.
That's what it is.
Welcome to the show, everybody.
We gotta play better football. We're gonna have an honest discussion, and we're gonna be positive about our team, which I really like. People will send comments in being like, hey, a lot of times YouTube commenters are like, hey, thank you for keeping it positive. And I always say to them, like, if they caught me in a moment of being like super positive, I always say, hey, I appreciate that. Or for us, I'll say, we appreciate that. Like, and when it's time to be critical, we will be critical. It's like, that's part of the gig. We're always fans. I want them to win every freaking game. But if they do dumb things, part of the show is to call them out, right? So speaking of some things that were a little bit dumb, I'm calling this one Whirling Doofuses, if folks are familiar with the dervishes, right? So Q2, 11:04 to go, 1st and 10, Green Bay is on, I think, their own 40-yard line. So we take this back to the videotape, and I'll just describe it quickly, is that we got, of course, Love and shotgun, setting that up, or highlighting Woolen down below here. Kind of a cool formation because they got Chris Brooks, number 30, and I think it's Jacobs offset on each side of Love. And Chris Jones does a little bit of an orbit motion behind Jordan Love. So we get this isolation on the left-hand side, one-on-one with Watson and Woolen. Brandon, the quiz I want to say to you is, when this ball went up in the air live, this ball went up and we saw Woolen's initial position, what did you think the outcome of this play was going to be?
Is this the throw down the left sideline?
Oh, yes.
I thought it was going to go out of bounds.
Okay. That's a fair take. My initial result, my initial feeling, and this is a different angle than we get at home, so it's a little bit wider. However, still, I remember thinking, oh, he's going to pick this off because he's in such, like, this ball has no business being thrown. So, Love made some really good and ballsy throws on the run and just tight window stuff. He did enough. He certainly did enough. It's a good pass. Like, there's no doubt. Like, look, that's a good pass. The way it ends up.
Yeah.
But I mean, man, oh man, was I like, holy crap, Woolen is right there. Like, Woolen, the thing that was going through my brain from a style was, oh man, I remember Sherman picking, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 balls off like that, where, he's pivoting because he's got the depth judged the right way, and he leaps in a high point, and that's it. Like, and Sherman just beats the guy because he's that much better and that much sharper. I thought we had that here, and I don't know what Woolen was doing. I know he had a rough game, so I'm not trying to dunk on him for everything. This one really got under my skin, though, man. I don't know why he stops. I don't know why he decides to backpedal for 5 yards and give up a lot of room they did not have to give up. Any thoughts on this, Brandon?
I have less of a problem with this afterward than I did watching it live, because he does look confused. But as he's running down the sideline with the receiver leaves so much spacing in between him and the sideline. And so once Woolen is turning around to look, I don't know how he's supposed to get all the way over to the sideline to try and pick it off. The part of the ball placement is so good down the
It's good.
sideline.
It's good.
I don't know, other than unless Woolen, if he doesn't get his head around to look back at the ball, maybe he's in better position to make a play, like just, the play where you just kind of raise your hand and try and block it and face guard a guy.
Yeah.
But he was looking back for the ball, and then once he does that, it's just there's so much spacing there that I don't think there's a way for him to physically get to that ball where it's put on the sideline.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, and I'm being a little hypercritical on what is a tough play down here. It looks to me like when he goes and takes a peek, he does everything right. Like he's starting to look, here he starts to turn his head basically right here.
Right. And you can see that there's a good, at least 3 yards spacing from the receiver. So that's why I think the receiver does such a good job there, because he has to have his hips turned to the inside to run with him.
You mean spacing to the sideline? That's what you're saying,
yeah,
right?
the wide receiver on the sideline. And Woolen's not going to take the inside route, obviously.
No.
Or the outside route.
And that's why I was kind of so moved by it. I was like, he's in such perfect position. And I really thought this was like not an easy pick, because he's covering the guy really well. Just that the last quarter of that play, he just misexecutes. And it just upset me. I was like, man, this ball should be picked.
Yeah.
I know it's a good ball. Don't get me wrong. Packers fans be like, you kidding me? It's a beautiful ball. It is. I think
that's the biggest part of it. It's such a good ball that I don't know what Woolen, at the point that he looks back to see it and locates it, like right.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have time to get that far over to the sideline where the ball ends up.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll drop this one here.
But there's plenty of other Woolen plays that we can.
I know. That's the thing. It's like this one really bugged me, and I wanted to pick one that wasn't maybe the most egregious or obvious. So I kind of went here, but maybe being a little hypercritical, I'll take that. All right, let's hit the whammy. We got ins. Let's do it. Yeah. All right. We got some dirty work going on, which I think is cool. So let me just cue up the vid right quick. And there we go. Okay. So we got dirty work. It is Q4, 11:23 to go. 2nd and 6. And Seattle's on Green Bay's 24-yard line. And, this is basically somehow, some way we did crawl back into this game. We started to get a little momentum. It was dashed when we realized and remembered we had, not a very good quarterback leading the way. But back when we had this beautiful touchdown, so this is the touchdown play to Sharps now. Wait, sorry about that, team. Let me just go a little bit forward. There we are.
You did a lot of rewinding the last play.
I did. I really did. Okay, so play so nice, we ran it twice. It's the same exact play, same formation. As far as I could tell, same exact play that goes to Charbonnet. Now we have Sundell in the game, but I want to highlight JSN because he does enough, and he's on Edgerrin Cooper, who had quite a good game. Edgerrin Cooper was out there doing work all day and really made a difference out there. I think, JSN takes a lot of heat for not being a good blocker, and I think rightfully so sometimes. Again, being critical when we have to be critical. But if we watch JSN on this play, he's taking on a much bigger linebacker, engages, does enough, and enough of a push, away from Sharps and back down the field to spring this. Wanted to call it out. It's well blocked, but look, I mean, Sundell and Lamea, they do their job, but I'm not trying to take away from the success of what they do, but they run and go. In the case of Sundell, he's running free. He's not touched. He finds a safety, right? Okay. Well, you should be able to beat a safety, and he does. But the harder thing, I think, is the reverse of JSN taking on a big linebacker and winning enough. We've seen so much this year, Brandan, where we're like, dude, if you just got in the way, it would have been successful. So I want to give JSN some props here, doing enough of the good work, the dirty work to spring this. And we were back in the game for a hot minute there, Brandan. Anything else you see in that play, or progress from JSN, or blocking in general on the edges that you want to dive into? What do you want to take?
These are the types of crannies that I really enjoy, because this touchdown does not happen if JSN doesn't get his shoulder into the linebacker, because then he has that gap and he makes I think he's able to then make the play on Charbonnet. And just because of that one, just getting enough of that block, it springs it open and we get that touchdown. And JSN on the day, he didn't finish as the top blocking wide receiver. But, when DK Metcalf is out on the field and he's 6'3", 200 plus pounds, and you're much smaller in comparison, it's not bad to be number 2.
No, not at all. That's okay. And I think he's getting better at it, or at least this play in isolation shows that he can be successful at it. I know it's a little hit and miss sometimes, but he's and I've been like the biggest JSN lover on the pod as he has emerged this year. But for me, you need to be a full football player, and that means doing the dirty work and blocking like this. Before I play this one more time, I do want to call out Charbonnet's feet here too. The little one cut after right there, like that. That's also kind of neat, right? I mean, watching Charbonnet in space with the patience, and he's about to take it inside, and then boom, right back to the outside. Almost a bit of, it reminds me of, remember how like Arian Foster used to run the ball, Brandon?
No.
Okay, perfect. Good. All right.
I mean, for the sake of your point, yes, Arian Foster. I remember him making. What was he known for? Was it the pterodactyl thing?
Oh, I don't know what that. I mean, I remember him just being awesome, and just scoring touchdowns, but really being that quintessential one cut back, right? Sure. So the one cut and go, and Arian Foster, his peak was so high. I mean, it was short lived, but it was 3.5, 4 years of being one of the best backs in the NFL, and a really exciting back. But to see some of that from Sharbs, it's kind of cool. So I wanted to call that out. So, and I love Ryan.
Charbonnet. We got to get the correct pronunciation down.
Sure, I guess. I mean, I still like to call them Sharbs. All right, beautiful in. We got one more out. Let's hit it. Out number 3. Thank the maker. All right.
We did.
So we did. Yeah.
We made it.
We did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to call this one Thirstin Howell. And if you're old enough to get that, then cool. All right. So Q4.
Then you might be one of our grandparents.
Yeah. Could be. All right. So early Q4. Don't need to set this up too much. It is Seattle's down by our goal line. And at the very least, this game showed us and showed, all the entire Seattle spectrum of fans what life is like without Geno. And this play to me exemplifies what life is like without Geno. So quickly, for those that may be listening, I'll explain a little bit. So we got Sam Howell in shotgun, Charbonnet off of his right-hand side. I'll pause right here. And I think it's JSN in motion, right to left. And Sam Howell has this, I don't know if it's a habit or a tick, where he'll pretend that he's actually looking left, but not really. And then he just kind of comes back right and fires a ball. Whether or not anything is there, Brandon, it's like, if your one read was DK, because you do look left real quick, or at least you feign that, and then watch what he does. And the all-22 makes it like worse. But I just don't understand that. I don't get this. This is Tom Hanks in Big playing with the skyscraper that turns into a robot, or vice versa. Like, I don't get it. I don't get what you see. I don't like that you watch his little, like, oh, I'm looking left. What's he see? What's there? Absolutely nothing.
I think the look left is to draw the defense to make it look like he's throwing left.
I get it. That's sure. That's what you usually do, right? But then the other piece of that is, if that's the case, then I think it's George Fant or whoever's remaining over there. Maybe it's Sharbs. Yeah.
No Fant.
Then how about Fant or Sharbs, right? That's the other piece of this. Is like, okay, if you're looking left, because that's what you do, you look left. Sorry, we round a little too far, but we don't mind looking at a touchdown. But if you're looking there, then okay, then Fant is open, right? Fant is wide open for easy money. We'll pause it right here.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Fant's open. Sharbs is wide open.
Sharbs can go get you, whatever, 3rd down and 2. right? He'll probably be tackled or get out of bounds there. Fant probably receiving this and probably getting a first down. So and I realized not every quarterback's going to make every read. I just want to kind of highlight what life is like on this team without Geno right now. And I'm not crapping on Sam Howell. And I think, yes, with a week of prep, I think Sam Howell could be better. And in fact, the drive where we score at Charbonnet, he is better. He makes a couple of throws. But this is, to me, kind of quintessential and not good enough, Brandan, is what it boils down to.
No, it seemed like he was unprepared for the moment. And when you are a backup quarterback, that was the one thing, like, that was very evident when Geno was backing up Russ. Like, when he had his moment, he came in and he could move the ball.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
that, I think, speaks to the type of preparation that a backup quarterback puts in, is that when they're thrust into that moment, they can come and perform. And if you know that's, you have to prepare for that inevitability, and it just didn't seem like he was.
Yeah, and the only thing I wonder about is if it's preparation or simply his talent level is just not that great. I know how Adam feels about this. Adam was always out on Hal, and I was actually like, oh no, I've seen enough when he was with the Commanders. I'm like, look, he's under incredible duress, but I still see the dude sticking in there and maybe making some beautiful throws to McLaurin and stuff. So I was actually more bullish on Sam Howell, and one or two drives won't make a season. Hopefully we don't have to see him again, and that Geno just trends the right ways is what it boils down to.
If you don't like this offensive line with Geno Smith,
exactly.
you are really not going to like this offensive line with Sam Howell. So
that's exactly right. It reminds me of the very beginning of Vacation when Chevy Chase is going to pick up the car and Eugene Levy is the car salesman.
Right.
And Eugene Levy says to him, he goes, "You think you hate it now? Wait till you drive it." Right. and it's kind of like that, right? So, all right, well, that's the last out. Again, thank the maker. We got an in to get to, and then from the flock, of course. Let's hit that last in. It's a good one. In number 3, we're just calling this one simply, well, he's still good. So Q4, 5:55 to go. Again, it's 4th and 2, and Green Bay is on Seattle's side of the field. 4th and 2, and man, we get this stop, and we feel for maybe half a tick that maybe we got a chance. At the live broadcast, I was like, ooh, Draymond Jones makes a heck of a play. Okay, yeah, you see Draymond Jones there. When you rewatch this, you start to look at the nooks and crannies, Brandan. Yeah, Draymond Jones gets there, but his job's easy. That's Sundell blocking a DB or a safety, right? That's fine. This is Leo Williams being really good at football again. So Leo Williams absolutely puts his guy back on skates, sled and shed, right? Sleds his guy, sheds his guy. And Leo also had that other tackle for a loss in the big moment here too. Not a great game. I mean, not a great couple of first series for the whole team, including Leo, but the game was still, possible here. And I thought it was really cool to see the defense step back up, led by our best defensive player this year. And that's Leo Williams, man.
Yeah, he has been the bright spot. And it's in a game like this that made it, I think, a little bit more obvious, though, that they had a plan for Leo Williams. And it's not that he didn't make his plays, because he did. He led the team with 5 stops on the day, but he didn't wreck the game like we've seen him be able to do against some of the other teams. And that, I think, speaks to the preparation on the other side of the ball, to have some sort of a plan for him. And can't stop him all the time, but you do pretty well. And that's what they did with Leo.
Totally fair assessment. Like Leo got his, and he wasn't a game wrecker. Like you said it very perfectly there. And to get out sacked, if you will, 7-0. That is systemic, right? You get out sacked 2-0 in a game, like you get shut out, right? but you only give up maybe 2 or maybe 3, and you look back and one of them is actually on the quarterback and he, kind of ran out of bounds and should have thrown it away. You're like, you can live with that. 7-0 is, I think you said it earlier in the pod. It's just like we were trending in such a positive way. And to see us give up, it was like we gave up the gains in a very unexpected way. And I know trends don't just keep trending, especially in the NFL. It's wildly, there are wild swings. But boy, did it feel really rotten, Brandan, to get shut out 7 sacks to no sacks versus a Green Bay team. Every time I hear, well, this team's actually not that great at rushing the passer, I get nervous now, Brandan. How about you?
It does make you a little bit nervous, and I am chuckling a little bit because here we are turning our last into an out. But I did not expect in this game with the Packers that we would, and this goes to the disparity between the number of sacks that they got versus what we got. Like, I didn't expect Carl Brooks and Devontae Wyatt to be game wreckers against our offensive line. And yet those were their 2 leading guys getting pressures on Geno Smith. It was Kenny Clark. Like, I understand that. Edgerrin Cooper, great linebacker. Like, makes a lot of sense that he'd be in there mixing it up.
Rashawn Gary,
you can, in comparison, Rashawn Gary had a pretty quiet game. Instead, it was Carl Brooks and Devontae Wyatt tearing it up in the interior.
Yeah. Disappointing, right? Just wholly disappointing and across the board. And it wasn't one player, or it wasn't like one player being picked on, as evidenced by you naming like 4 different dudes, right, that play across the line. So
that aren't even starters.
Right, exactly. That are rotational pieces. Before we get to From the Flock, which we'll get to next, and there's some great ins and outs, and of course we will remind folks how you can become a member. Before we do that, I just want to remind folks that the NFL swings wildly, sometimes week to week, certainly quarter to quarter, meaning like quarter of the season versus quarter of the season. And as crappy and low as this felt, it's like, okay, we're not on their tier. You play this game and you go, okay, they are clearly a tier or 2 better than us. And they were on Sunday. The NFL is very funny. So just don't give up. Don't say, don't mail it in and think we can't. Hey, we can't. We're not going to catch the Rams now. It's not going to happen. It could. The Jets could beat the Rams this week. The Rams got to get on a plane, come all the way to the East Coast. It's going to be cold. Just like I was like, hey, don't be shocked if the Rams beat the Bills. I had a little bit of a spidey sense being like, coming off that game with the Bills and the snow and the fans, they got to travel across the country. Game doesn't mean that much to them. I don't know. It screamed to me, Rams going to win that game. I don't have that much confidence in the Jets, Brandan, but I won't be shocked at all if that's a very close game in the fourth quarter. Like, not at all.
I wouldn't be shocked. I guess I'd be shocked if the Rams lost. The one that I think has the potential to swing this the most is that Rams-Cardinals game, because I think that it will still matter to the Cardinals.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a game that the Cardinals have the potential to win. So that would be the one that I think we're going to really need. And to see the Rams lose that one, it's not necessary. Again, we have to keep pace with the Rams.
Right.
So I suppose if we were to lose to the Vikings, then we would need that one. But yeah.
Well, that's if the Jets can't get it done, right? But I agree, and we're put in the dirty position of having to kind of root for the Cardinals this week. Also, it might be like, well, why? They could get back in it. Yes, they can, but we need them to, like, 2 weeks from now, to be like, we're still in it. Like they've got to be in it. Otherwise they can't be checked out of that game versus the Rams and be a free square. That'd be really crappy. So we kind of need the Cardinals to win this week and just be in contention still. And of course we got Eagles versus Commanders. So, okay, Eagles, just keep on doing your thing. Like, got to get that win. And let's see how our chips fall with the Vikings, of course. Which
Yeah, and the truth
gonna
is,
be
I
tough.
know it here in chat saying it's going to be hard for us to finish out with a better record than the Rams, and that's why I say that we have to keep pace because
Right.
if well, then we do have the better record because then we win in week 18 and then we have the better
Correct.
record and it's fine. But if we don't have the better record, then it's going to come down to the divisional record. And if somehow we even win that final game, we end up with the same record, but then we're tied head to head. Then it goes to division record. And then it's really going to count on. That's why I say you're going to need that loss then to the Cardinals for
Yeah.
them, because then you can go further into the tie breaking procedures. And I think that we can ultimately come out ahead then. But
Yeah,
it's
nooks
gonna
and crannies there too. Like a lot there's lots of permutations, right? I get
yeah.
the overarching point is it ain't over. It's as Yogi said it so beautifully, right? Perhaps it's getting late early, but it ain't over. And don't think it is. And I know, Brandon, that we are never ever out of it when we have our From the Flock section. We're going to read this from the Discord. Let's remind folks one more time how they can get involved, become a flocker, all the things they should be doing to raise the Hawker because it's just universally good.
Yeah, you can help support us if you find value in what it is we do each and every week, even talking about some of the stuff maybe we don't want to talk about,
Mm.
but breaking it down and recognizing it and seeing where we have the potential to improve, then you can go to getintheflock.com, help support the show. And the bonus with that, too, if you're supporting the show, it gets you into our Discord group. We chat on game day. It's a good time. We had fun. Despite the fact that we were down multiple scores, we still had a little bit of fun in there. So, please join us, and if not, that's fine too.
Yeah, we did. We had a lot of fun for sure. Like you said, yeah, it's fine too. If you can't, you can't. But then, hey, hit the subscribes, hit the likes, do all that stuff as well. I think we had done some live. We brought some members of the flock in a couple times this year. I think we could commit to say the next. How about the next W? Right. So the next win that we get when we do our 3 in 3 out, we also have a live From the Flock section and bring them in. What do you think
Oh,
of
there
that?
we go.
Okay.
That sounds like a good idea.
A
We also
little
have a live super chat
Ooh,
from M saying "Go Hawks." So appreciate the value for value there, M. Thanks for coming in
yeah,
and watching live.
absolutely. Very, very cool. Thank you for that. Always really appreciate anybody who's doing that. It's good stuff. All right. So we got designed Pete's Beach House, Amy in the Discord starting us off. She goes, out. I don't really have anything to say. It was a little dull feeling, and I understand that.
Yeah, I can absolutely understand that. It would make it very hard, Amy, for you to be on the show and talk about this because you have to come up with something to say, and that can be some of the tough things because after a game like this, not really fun.
Yeah.
Car saying out the run game. That's all I need to say. The thing is that I think the run game not using it
Yeah.
is more of the out that I think Car's getting at because as you pointed out, when we went to it, it was there.
I think Sharps averaged close to 7, right? Or over 7 yards per carry. I believe that's where he was. So something like that, right? Eight carries, 50 something yards.
Yeah.
Sure would have been nice if we did more of that. Heck, even Kenny McIntosh had a couple of okay runs, right? And pretty well blocked runs. So schematically, we are not committed to running the football. And that's a shame. All right, we got Frost saying, bet there's going to be some, he's saying, bet there's going to be some reasoned discourse in here today because obviously people could fly off the handle. He does say in good kickoff return to start the second half. The word good is appropriate there to have the lane that Darden had and get it to 37 is good. I would prefer, I like him on punts just fine. He catches everything. Great. Love it. When you go watch, I think it's Keyshawn. I think it's how you say his name, Keyshawn Nixon of the Packers with their DB that returns kicks. You see that element of a dude that could take it back every single time. There's 8 billion people on earth. Can we not find one that can catch the ball and is a threat to return it to the house every single time he touches the ball? There's got to be a human out there. Has to be.
It has to be. blue and green zone in with a live out to Ryan Grubb and an out shotgun formation. 87% of the
87?
game.
Oh my gosh.
This is putting our offensive line at a huge disadvantage. And there was one play, we didn't get to it
87.
During the ins and outs, but it was wild because watching back and seeing, because I wanted to go and look at how Laumea played, because one of the things, if you looked at PFF after the game,
yeah, his run blocking, right?
No, it was his. I think it was his pass blocking grade.
Like
was like
1.6.
Yeah, it was 1.6.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it couldn't have been that bad. And so I watched through the first half, and I was like, okay, well, he gave up a sack here. He gave up a pretty bad pressure early on, but for the most part, Laumea, he was okay-ish. And then it got to the third quarter, and holy smokes, they just decided like they were going to work Laumea, and they did. And the third quarter was his worst. And then they got, they finally got to, I think it was a play action pass, and Laumea got a win. And then they had a nice, I think Howell was in, and they were lined up under center for a pass. And Laumea had one of his best pass blocking reps of the entire day. I was like, oh, well, here you go. You line up under center, and your guy who is struggling in pass protection, all of a sudden, they have to honor the run and the pass, and he's able to do some work and have a really solid rep after having a disaster of a quarter. And that just kind of, it put all into focus for me, like, why you don't go under center only 5 times out of the entire game.
It's just insanity, right? And it's we've seen this before, and of course that's the very definition of insanity, right? That's been defined for us in a really, really brilliant way. The other times, like JSN over the middle, there were like a couple of times where we were under center, we ran play action, and lo and behold, someone's open over the middle, which is what play action explicitly does, right?
Yeah, that was the one play to Tyler Lockett in this game.
Yes, that one. There was one where JSN's going left to right, in the middle of the field, and he's open and it's hit. And there's one where Lockett's going right to left across that hash, and he's hit for like a 21 yarder, and he gets up and does that little fancy thing that I love that he does. It's really kind of fun. It's a great little first down celebration.
His one catch and one target.
Yeah, and one first down. The McDonald press conference where he flags this and he says, yeah, we should be running play action more, frankly. I feel like there might be, I know they're keeping it smooth. I know above the surface, things are smooth. I think there's some shot fired at Grubb at this point that are, professionally done, and a little bit of frustration boiling over where McDonald's like, this is just not the team. This is not how I want to run my team. That's my take. I don't know. Do you feel it's just him being honest in the moment? Do you feel it's directed at Grubb at all? Or do you just think he's just answering a question honestly?
I think he does a good job of trying to answer questions honestly, but also try and protect his players and his coaches as best he can. And so it leads us to have to read into some of those things, which we can be awfully good at. And so maybe there's something there, but it is when he is so good at answering questions that way, it kind of does make it difficult to read, to know for sure.
Yeah, I agree. He's got a good poker face, right? And he's not hiding it. He's not saying a lot of words that don't.
We read into it because we're frustrated, and we feel like our coach should obviously be frustrated too, right? Because he's laid out the type of team that he wants to be. Like this is like when he's asked about his philosophy, when he's asked about how the way he wants to approach the game, like he's very clear. And then when the outcome doesn't match what he's told us, we only have to assume that what he's saying isn't getting across and through the offensive coordinator. So I think that's why you take that obvious logical leap.
Yeah, I do. And he says things like, we need to do play action more, frankly, right? So that one he just like
Yeah,
laid
you
out
mean
there,
like
right?
twice in a game? That's not
Yeah,
enough?
yeah. There was
Under
just
center, well, play action under
no.
center anyway, but
It's just that 87% stat. Great job by I think it was the truth as I know it that put it up
yeah.
there, or you put it up there for him. But great job for calling that out. That's just it's mind boggling. Again, we could flip it. We could flip it quite quickly. It could happen next week. We've seen that before, but we just got to do it. All right, back to the Discord. We'll go. We got Car. She says, in Leo leading to an amazing punt from Green Bay. I think this was, that was another TFL right when we were kind of getting back in it, where Leo had a beautiful TFL for on third down, forcing Green Bay to punt. That was a big play.
Yep, big negative stop by our Seahawks. And then we've got Frost with the end, fighting till the end. Perfect punch out by Jones. Yeah, getting the fumble there and giving us a short field. And that was the one drive that we got the touchdown on.
Yeah, and then Car, she's always going to defend Lockett. She says that Lockett penalty, and he was called twice, is my understanding, right?
I have no idea why.
Yeah, I after a decade or so, it's like I think he's lined up quite fine. So that was
the only thing I could think of is that because we're looking at his feet and the line on the screen, and it looks right, but like, is his head just like over the ball, like just a little bit too much? I don't know. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, it was ticky-tacky, and in a game where we couldn't afford.
The only time I've ever seen it are when the receiver's feet are lined up with the ball.
Right. Because that's like, right. Like you're allowed to lean exactly that part. Anyway, it was crapola. It just seems, I don't know. I mean, doing it to a rookie to maybe make a point versus a 10-year veteran. It's like, I know you don't give deference to one, but the guy's been doing this for a decade at an extremely high level. Like maybe just look at him and be like, hey, lock, nudge back. I know they check in with each other. It just seemed off to me. Something seemed weird.
All right. We've got Thad is radical with the in. Valiant effort from the D, especially after a frigid start. Out. Another unequivocally horrible evening of play calling for Grubb. He's a problem. A big one.
Don't disagree. We got Josh DeHuman. He starts with an in, says in. Sharp giving us a chance with his touchdown. Dude does not give up. He's got a couple of outs here. Out. Olu getting injured. He's like, I don't blame him, just kind of cursing the football gods, and we hope Olu's okay. Interesting year for the guy, and he went through a lot. He went through, he's going to be the expected starter, then he's not the starter, then the freaking guy retires, Connor Williams retires, he's thrust back in and plays pretty well, and now he's dinged. Hopefully his knee's not too bad. Also gives an out to Geno's injury. Says screw you, Edgerrin Cooper. Yeah, I actually didn't think it was like dirty per se. And then out to Sam Howell. Just says you crumbled under the pressure, costing us the game. Only thing I'll disagree with you there, Josh, is I think the game was lost earlier. Geno would have given us a shot to come back because that's what Geno does, but the Packers still put up 30 points.
Yeah, it wasn't good enough though. The effort by Howell, but
nope.
We've got JSN Jiggy with it. In the second half, defensive adjustments could have been enough if not for a Geno injury. So that we just talked about that. Yep. Out too much to overcome with turnovers and penalties and poor O-line play.
Well, that's Lisa from Seattle. She squared it up perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another in saying at least it was a quality opponent that smacked us and not the friggin' Giants.
Yeah, ouch. She ain't wrong.
I guess that makes it a little bit easier to take, right?
Yeah, I mean, it does, right? The Giants one, it does. Just flatly, the answer is yes. It does make it a little easier. You're like, okay, that's a quality opponent, and we were not on their level this Sunday. And for this year, they've been a better team than we have been, and that shows, right? I do like this one from Seahawk Tua on that thing, and he says, out. Punting in the fourth when we need points. I stated in the Discord and on Twitter. In the moment, I was like, I hate this call. Like we're down 10. Our quarterback is injured. It's like 4th and 5, and we're kind of at midfield, like 41, 42 yard line. I don't care. It's our side of the field. I know we almost get the fumble. I know that Dixon does magic Australian things, Brandan. We almost get the fumble. In the moment, hated it, and I just thought it was a little defeatist. How about you?
I mean, if they would have been running the ball effectively, then maybe we could have seen a little bit more there. But I
Mm,
don't think that they were going to do anything, even had they converted that fourth down.
chances are,
That's the
chances,
pessimist in me. But hey,
but
I was also with the. I didn't blame the crowd for a little bit of booing a McDonald there. Like that, it seems like when you're in the moment there, I think that's a moment that you go for it.
speaking of the crowd, quickly, I know there's so much conversation about the Green Bay takeover, and I get it. I and Adam addressed it, I think, in the post game show. While it bugs me, and while I would love to have a full on home field advantage, it just doesn't rank that high for me in like problems or why we didn't win and execute. I realize we might lose a small advantage of not having it just packed with 12s. I understand that. I'd also say being an East Coaster, when I go to a Jets game and my entire section is Seahawks fans, I kind of love that,
I
Brandon.
enjoy that. Yeah.
Right. So I don't know, kind of good for the goose, good for the gander. It's just not high on my list. I know there were some other Seahawks pundits that dedicated episodes to it, and I'm like, it doesn't move me that much. I don't like it, but I'm not shaken by it. How about you?
No, I don't like it. I've been to games where that's the case, and no, it doesn't feel great. But again, I've also gone to games where, as a visiting fan, and you get a win, and you've got other Seahawks fans there to celebrate it with. I enjoy that very much. So I could see why, as an opposing fan, you would want to do that, and you'd probably pay a little extra money to do it if it's your team. I just want us to send those fans home as losers, and so that they don't want to pay the money to come watch their team lose.
Right? Like you leave and go, I will never do that again. Like, yes. Like, but you gotta play better football for that to happen, right? So, all right, I think we're back at the Discord. Which one do you want to take?
Oh, let's go down to right hand Dan giving us a trio of outs.
Oh
The
boy.
Sam Howell cameo was interesting. The play
Uh,
calling during the Sam Howell cameo was interesting. And out, the 3D printer is going to freeze over now. Sad
yeah.
emoji.
What is the temperature in Montana? Like,
Yeah,
how are you
it's
cold?
below freezing.
Oh boy.
It's in the
Oh boy.
garage.
Oh
It's
boy.
I I don't know if I need to get like one of those chicken coop lights. Maybe that if you can get in the flock, go to getintheflock.com this week. If we get, I don't know, 3 new members, we get
Hmm.
one of those heat lamps in this next week. Uh, so that way, when we get the win over the Vikings, it's nice and warm. We just, I don't know why I didn't think of it sooner. Maybe
Right.
just because we
But
didn't have the funds in the bank account. But when you have a $2,000, $3,000, $30,000 3D printer, maybe you think about putting a heat lamp in the garage next to it. That was an oversight. But
yeah, well, you know what? When you win 4 games in a row and your $35,000 3D printer is warmed up and it's very real, you don't got to worry about it. And then we lose all of a sudden, and the temperature drops, and we're in this pickle, right? So I don't blame you, Brandon. We won 4 games in a row. I do want to give some love to Nate Schutz because he's a great member out there and joins us live a lot. He says, "Out, Woolen, another abysmal first quarter." He says, in quotations, "See the Jets game." And basically also abandoning the run. Woolen also had that play where he gets dragged into the end zone on one of the touchdowns, and yuck, 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 yuck.
Blue and green zone with the live out fans not showing up and selling tickets to opposing teams. Yeah, if you can't make the game, try and find a Seahawks fan. That's the thing about when we're winning and playing well. There's plenty of Seahawks fans that are willing to take those tickets, and then if you can't make it, then you're almost virtually guaranteed to be passing them along to a Seahawks fan. But it does take some effort sometimes to make sure and find somebody, and maybe you don't get as much.
Yeah, and I did hear that this is, for like European soccer clubs, that this is a solved problem. So if we wanted to, if the Seahawks team wanted to, they could just adopt what other teams do for European soccer, and that is like you have your season ticket holders, and then other people can be members for like a small fee, like
Oh,
whatever it is, like say it's $50, whatever, right? Whatever it is.
mhm.
And for that fee, you get a couple of perks. And one of your perks is that you get access to the ticket portal. So you basically you're paying to play. So it'd be a lot for like a Packers fan to join, pay that kind of extra fee, right? To then acquire it. I guess you could, but it's a little bit of put skin in the game. You get a couple of perks, one of them being you get access to the ticket portal where you're getting a ticket to and from who share the same passion you do for that team. Cool. It's a solved problem. If so, it's like we don't got to talk about it for that long. If the Seahawks want to adopt it and change it, just look over to a European solution, put it in place in 1 year, put a little bit of software up there, and it's done. This is not
They have the Blue Pride waiting list. Like that seems like the obvious solution. You have to pay once you get to a certain level on the waiting list, you have to pay $100 for a deposit to continue to be on the waiting list.
Well, there you go.
Why not open it up to those people have obviously shown that they want to be season ticket holders.
It's even more
up to them.
It's even more foolproof. That's perfect because then it's enough money that no one's going to scam that, and it's also an existing list to be in line.
Around for 10 years.
Right. Perfect. I mean that is the solution. That's how you just do that, and you'll solve it all the way through. But however, teams on the East Coast don't do that because I like being there to watch our team win with lots of Seahawks fans. So. All right, we got Antro Wirehawks. He's got a couple here. He says, I think Coach Mike knew, I think he was talking about the punt in the fourth quarter. Okay. He says, we seem to have kick returner who can catch and will also return kicks. And that's nice. So I like that. He also says, to Coach Mike and DC Dirty's adjustments at halftime. He said, much stiffer in the second half. One thing I'll say, Antro, is I think they actually adjusted even sooner. On the rewatch, I put it out on Twitter. I was like, like in my brain, the entire first half was terrible. And it being down 20-3, that's not good. With that, it was the first quarter. First quarter, it's 14-0. I'm like, okay. And then it really got quite a bit tighter. That's when they got a couple of PIs after that, just underthrown balls where Love is chucking it 35 yards downfield. And, Job is doing his best, but it's underthrown, and it's that the cheapest play in the book, and they move the ball and get a field goal. So it was really one poor quarter of football. And McDonald did make some really quick adjustments. My call to him is, dude, we can't start 14-0 down versus a team that is a white hot starting and a really good team that can run the football and kill clock. It's a recipe to not get back in that game. It's exactly how it played out.
Yeah, and I don't know what Coach Mike was. The thing is that the Packers hadn't been historically a great starting team, so maybe it was partly counting on that. But at the same time, with the running back that they have, how do you not play the run a little bit harder, or you play Jacobs a little bit tougher? It's very strange.
Yeah, I would have liked to see a little more selling out in the beginning to stop the run and let. I know Love's pretty good, but fine. Fine, try it, so all right, I think we got one or two more to go. We want to take the next one.
Which one is the next one exactly?
I would go with Amy with Design Pete's Beach House towards the bottom.
Out. I'm trying really hard not to overreact and call for Grubb's job, but he's not making it very easy.
No, he's not. And I know with 3 games to go, they're not going to do something drastic. They're just not. When things would get on skates or get a little over-rotated for Pete Carroll's liking, some people would get mad at him for quote-unquote meddling, but he would go in and basically mandate and be like, hey, we're going to be under center at least this percentage, and we're going to run the ball at least this percentage. You figure it out from there, but I'm mandating that we're getting too tilted one way. I don't know if McDonald has that kind of relationship with.
If he does, he doesn't seem to be enforcing it.
Correct. Or it's being listened to. Right. That's exactly correct. They must be talking about it. I mean, obviously, but I mean, talking about it to the level of, hey, we're going to do it differently this time. Right. We're actually going to run the ball. We're going to get under center. Right. It was working the last couple of weeks. We're showing really good progress. obviously they're professionals. They're talking about this stuff. But yeah, the regression back to that shotgun game was so poor. All right, we got one last one. Of course, we close with Hawk Van Dyke, Bloomy out. Beating the rest theory relies on crap teams like the Jets and the Sharks. We get killed when facing rested teams like the Packers, Lions, and Bills. The thing I'll say there is maybe, right? I mean, we did get killed, but maybe we're just getting killed because they're better football teams too.
Right. I think that part has borne out just in terms of the teams that the Seahawks have faced this year. Like, they haven't played well against the good teams.
For sure.
Beating the bad teams.
And it does not help that they got mini buys and bye weeks.
Oh,
I
absolutely not.
totally agree with that. With that, we're still getting outclassed.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think Brandan,
the final in from Hawk
Van
Van Dyke. If this implodes, the draft picks will be better, and the future is still bright.
Well, there's always a wolf gray lining, as they say, right? So why not? Look, I'll start where I finished and say nothing's over. It's only Tuesday. We'll see how this week evolves. Geno likely at this point looks like he'll be able to suit up and play. Vikings dismantled Chicago. We'll like mentally rotate over to that game. I didn't learn very much from that, except for the Bears are bad and the Vikings are balanced. They're a nice balanced team. This is going to be another test. I don't know that they're better than the Packers. I'm not sure I believe that. You said that earlier.
I think they are.
Yeah, I mean they very well may be, and they've been different defensively. The problem,
Aaron Jones is really, really good. They have their wide receiver talent is far better than the Packers' wide receiver talent.
Yeah, Jefferson's, A1 with Chase, and Addison's are really, really good too.
I think defensively, their pass rush is more talented than Green Bay.
I agree. Oh, I agree with all that. I do think that Love's a better quarterback, although Darnold's having quite a good year. I think Love's a better quarterback.
Oh yeah, that's the one spot. But
well, I think the Packers run the ball. I like the Vikings run game, and I like Aaron Jones a whole heck of a lot. I just think the Packers run the ball a little differently and a little bit more effectively. But again, this is a tough team. This is going to be difficult as we head into this week, and we'll see. Hopefully, we get K9 back, and he could be like another spark. And we'll see what happens with Jalen. There's a lot in the air. Jalen Sundell. Will Geno be healthy? If Geno has a bum ankle, are we forced to be in shotgun because he's got a bad knee, leg injury, and he needs to be in shotgun? That doesn't feel good, Brandan. so like hopefully we can get back to more. Like I'm saying, the Vikings are very balanced, and I think we have to counterbalance that and be very explicit with how we try to do that. And it didn't feel like we had a good plan versus the Packers. So I'm looking forward to it. All is not lost. The sky is not falling. And there's other teams we're going to cheer for hard, go Jets, go Eagles. And even like we want the Cardinals to win. So they stay really relevant in it as well. But Brandan, nothing's over yet. Our Seahawks still have, despite what 58% of the people are voting on out on YouTube, our Seahawks still have a very, very good shot of taking the NFC West. And I believe that.
We are in control of our own destiny. Let's take control of it and finish out this season.
Just go 3 for 3. Just win them all. That's it.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.